Hey guys, it's John McNamara, host, Ron in Vegas. We're talking local sports, business, real estate. If you guys like what you see, subscribe, like, follow us on Instagram, Ron in Vegas Podcast. And guys, we got a special episode today. We're talking local sports. We're going to focus on that. We're talking Raiders and the Geno Smith trade. UNLV basketball, they're in the Mountain West tournament right now. UNLV football, who's going to be the starting quarterback going into next year. And if we have time, we're going to talk a little spring real estate market at the very end. So let's jump into it. Las Vegas Raiders. The big news this week, Geno Smith traded to the Raiders. So was this a good deal for the Raiders? That's the question, right? When I first saw this, I'm going to be honest, I was not excited. Geno Smith, that is not, what I was expecting. They came out of left field. I think Geno Smith is a good quarterback. Part of my thought process was in going into the offseason, the original thing that the Raiders were really kind of there was a lot of fire around the Matthew Stafford getting traded to the Raiders. I didn't necessarily think this was going to happen. I did think that the Rams were going to re-sign him. Stafford was kind of using this as leverage, which worked. The Rams re-signed Stafford. And if there was a possibility to get who I think Stafford is still elite, has elite talents, top 7 quarterback. If we had the potential to get a Matthew Stafford, would have been, in my thoughts, a home run. Even though he's at the end of his career, he probably has 2 or 3 good years left in him. And Sam Darnold was on the market for free agency that was coming up. So to me, Sam Darnold is kind of like a B quarterback. Geno Smith was a B plus quarterback. And you didn't have to trade a third-round pick. Not the third-round pick is a big compensation. And the more that I've looked into this, we're going to go through the positives and negatives of trading for Geno Smith. The positives are he has a very strong arm. Close to elite, actually. Great release, has a great deep ball. He's rated into the top 15 for PFF over the last 3 years. He's got experience. He understands the Pete Carroll culture. And the big thing is we have Chip Kelly as offense coordinator now for the Raiders. Now, Geno Smith, where he had a lot of success, was at West Virginia. They ran a very similar offense to Chip Kelly's offense that he played in college, which is shotgun, get the ball out quickly. So these are the positives that I saw with the Geno Smith. Oh, and really loved, Geno Smith has a great deep ball as well. Negatives, he is 34 years old. He's more of a bridge quarterback. I would say he's a young 34, though. He's still playing very well for his age, because young 34, meaning he's only been a starter in the league for about 3 to 4 years. He kind of played sparingly for the New York Jets and other teams in the past. So, and he hasn't shown really, overall like an elite top 10 quarterback. So these were kind of my concerns going in. And overall, I'd love to hear what you guys think. I think it was overall a good signing for the Raiders. They're most likely going to have to extend him. A big reason why Seattle did not re-sign him is because they were looking around $35 million a year, 35. That's a lot of numbers there. And Geno was looking between 40 to 45 million. So I'd imagine with this trade is we're going to probably lock him up for additional 2 years. I do believe in Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, and most, as you guys know, my favorite quarterback of all time, Tom Brady. So I think this is a really top-end bridge quarterback for us to have. He fits very well. He understands, I think, overall, the more I've been more excited about it, there's so many more dynamics more than just football that play a role of this, being 34 years old. And Pete Carroll knows what he is getting with Geno Smith, and that's a leader, locker room guy, a guy who has good work ethic. And what's the reality, guys? If you've been watching the Raiders, the culture has not been good for years. The biggest thing that we could really see is a culture shift with the Raiders. And it seems like they're starting to do this in the offseason with some other moves we're going to talk about. So I like the dynamic. I think he fits the system well. The problems with Geno Smith in the past, too, is he's not good in the red zone. Well, that hasn't been his strength, I should say. And he does make these silly mistakes here and there, which all quarterbacks do. The strength, though, is Chip Kelly's offense. Usually the strength is the red zone. They like to run the ball. So the big question is going to be who is going to be the starting running back? I don't believe they are on the roster right now. I think, and we're going to allude to this a little bit later, draft time comes around, there's going to be some great options. We have a very deep running back in the draft class this year. So overall, I like it. I'm excited. This is clearly an upgrade. Since the Raiders have moved to Las Vegas, I think he's better than Derek Carr. He's definitely been better than the quarterbacks we've had over the last couple of years. So, and I think the reason why they made this move as well is last year, everybody was mocking Michael Penix to the Raiders at their pick. What happened? The Falcons traded up for him. Would have been a great franchise, long-term quarterback. We got a pretty good price, though. They ended up taking the best player on the board, Brock Bowers, who's going to be a franchise potential Hall of Fame tight end. We'll see. It's his rookie year, but by far the most impressive rookie season from a tight end in NFL history. So he has some weapons. So we're going to dive more, though, into defense now. One thing I really like into free agency is I'm always looking at teams and how they spend their money. Raiders had the second most money to spend. And I always get a little worried when teams go top heavy with players. The reason behind this is NFL is they are deep rosters. There's 11 guys on offense. There's 11 guys on defense. There's 11 guys on special teams. So you got to do a good job of how you're going to allocate those funds, right? And I really liked what the Raiders did to fortify their defense. We're going to see some other things in the draft. I'm sure they're definitely not done adding. But they've gotten some really good they are definitely focused on stopping the run. That's the one big thing I got out of this. And they're getting mid-level guys on good contracts. They're not really overpaying anybody. They didn't sign anybody big. The strength of this team is the defensive line, which they've spent a lot of money re-signing Max Crosby, which is a huge deal for the Raiders, that they were able to keep an elite player, 28 years old, definitely maybe our best player in the entire Raiders, but definitely the best defensive player re-signed. We also have some other good defensive players as well. So they fortify the defense. We're going to go through this. I really like the safeties they added. Jeremy Chin. They added him 2-year deal. He's 6'3", 220 pounds. They signed him to a 2-year deal. And then they also signed another safety, Asaya Pola Mayo. Another big safety, 6'4", 200. Very Pete Carroll, right? He is getting size. And then he goes and gets Eric Stokes on a 1-year deal, former Green Bay Packer, first-round talent, who really didn't work out in Green Bay just because of injuries, but 6 foot, originally from Georgia Bulldogs, and have a great man coverage corner. So we got size to the defensive backs, which I love. Also, we lost our middle linebacker, and they signed a Landon Roberts to a 1-year deal. It's an older linebacker. Really like this. I'll be honest with you guys. You can get linebackers for days in free agency. We saw it with Bond, a bunch of linebackers that are really good. Bobby Wagner, who's like 35 and like getting 120 tackles every year, and is one of the highest rated. So you can get these older linebackers that are really good at stopping the run on the cheap. So I liked what they did there to solidify our middle linebacker spot. Also, Michael Kuntz, who's our edge defender on the outside from Crosby. Got him 1 year, $12 million. I thought it was a good deal. I was kind of hoping they're actually going to sign him long term. He's had some injuries, but he's been really good off of the edge. I was kind of surprised he didn't get a multi-year deal, but that was another good signing. So did a good job fortifying the defense, Geno Smith. So we got some positive things. So with offense, they signed Alex Kappa to a 2-year deal. He's a guard for the Bucs, so they solidified the interior. One thing that a lot of folks don't realize is the Raiders actually really have a good offensive line. They're probably going to be bringing like a veteran right tackle. I could see that happening and really fortifying that offensive line. And the interior and the left tackle are really solid. So they have a good offensive line. They fortified it with Kappa. And what I really like, and just today, they actually signed Raheem Mostert. He's a running back, Dolphins. And he's going to be a great backup running back as well. So they got a veteran running back in there. I like that because they're most likely going to draft a running back with their first or second pick. So this is what I like to see. This is what I've been kind of alluding to since beginning of the pod. We have the 6th pick and this in the second round, the 6th pick in the second round. So we have really 2 top picks. I'm not a big take a running back early kind of guy. And I think with signing Geno Smith and most likely giving him a big extension, I think it does actually make a lot of sense to consider Genty with the 6th pick. He's the running back from Boise State. He was the runner-up for the Heisman. He could bring tickets in. I don't know if you guys saw in the Review Journal. Ticket sales were down for the Raiders towards the end of the year. So I think a big name, him, Crosby, Brock Bowers, could kind of get more excitement that you can around. Also, signing a first-round running back, the positive of that, you basically have him for 5 years as long as he stays healthy and you can franchise him. You have a running back lined up for about 6 years. When this guy, and you never know until they hit, but he looks like a generational player. I use that lightly because I feel like we see generational players every 3 years at the running back position. But he does have a lot of great attributes to him with his contact balance. He does have home run speed. He can catch out of the backfield. He's a guy the Raiders could really rely on, considering you don't really want to just be slinging it with Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith's really good. If you could get Genty and then maybe another running back in the 5th or 6th round as a backup along with Morissette, get some depth there. This is a really deep class. You can get guys in the 4th, 6th round that are going to be, I promise you, will be starters in the NFL someday. So we got to really focus on building up the running back. And Chip Kelly typically likes to have 2 running backs. And his offense is about speeding up, spreading the ball out, and running the football to open things up. So I think it's a good fit for Geno. You get some running backs in there that they can kind of rely on versus just being on Geno Smith's arm. I think the offense is going to be fun to watch. It's got with a Genty, or in the second round you get Henderson or Judkins. It's got potential to be a top 15 offense this year for sure. So, and maybe top 10. We'll see. We got to see who they draft. The other option too, and I kind of want to see the Raiders go, if they take a running back in the 1st or 2nd, I would really like to see either a big X receiver or a deep threat receiver that they take in the 1st or 2nd round. You got McMillan from Arizona. He's a true wide receiver 1, X receiver you could plug in right away. He lacks the deep speed. There's Golden from Texas that I don't think he's going to fall in the 2nd round. I think he's going to be a top 20 guy. He just ran a 4.29. Reminds me of a little bit Chris Olave. Maybe trade up for him. We need somebody who's going to stretch the field, meaning they run a great 9 route, opens up the run game. Would love to see them add either one receiver that can kind of do both, or get a big X with somebody who can run the 9. So they got some options there. There'll be some receivers in the 2nd round. So excited for Raiders. Overall, I think they're really off to a good start. This is, I think, been underratedly the best offseason I can remember of watching the Raiders. There's been some highlights, right, of Jimmy Garoppolo and Devontae Adams coming here. But I think overall they're doing a good job of bringing guys that are going to really build a culture. And we've seen this with UNLV football. Not only did they bring in talent, but they changed the culture. And with Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, Tom Brady, they want to win now. So I'm excited going to the year. So let's talk a little bit of UNLV. Good segue. UNLV basketball. So what is going to happen this offseason with UNLV basketball? Now, I've been talking on the pod a lot about most likely Kruger is out. And it's going to really come down to the Mountain West tournament. Tonight, they are going to play Utah State. The only real way, there's been a lot of talk. The Review Journal, I'm not sure what's going on. There has been a lot going on with the Review Journal this week. First, it was Kevin Kruger somehow has an extra deal on his contract that has not been released. He got an extra year about 3 years ago. And then the Review Journal comes out with there's a deficit of $20 million for UNLV this week. And then they come out with saying that UNLV doesn't have enough money to pay Dan Mullen after going into the third season. So I don't know what's going on in Review Journal. Either way, and I think a lot of it is to try to keep Kruger's job. Not that I think they have a lot of influence with that, to be completely honest with you. I don't think most of us do, unless you actually have money and you're a donor and you're supporting NIL. Those are probably the folks that are going to have the most voice in the House. I think unless Kruger, hopefully he can do this. I think it's going to be very tough because half of the team is injured right now. Unless he can make a run at the tournament, win the Mountain West to get in the team, I think he would deserve that year. It'd be pretty miraculous. It'd be pretty amazing, actually. And if he does not, he has had this position for 4 years and, guys, 0 NCAA tournaments. That is not acceptable for UNLV basketball. I'm not buying in that. This is a historic program. Nobody is going to games right now. There's on a good day, it's 5,000 people. Average is probably like 3,000. And arena that seats almost 20,000 people. They have to find a coach that's going to win. And it's going to want to win now. We can't do this slow build thing. That is silly. They have the resources and the top programs in the Mountain West. At the very minimum, they should be competing for Mountain West championships every single year in football and basketball. There should be no excuse of this. So my prediction offseason and what I hope to see is take the Dan Mullen plan. Let's find an older coach, maybe it is in 50s and 60s, maybe not necessarily in his prime. Or I should say, there's plenty of people in their prime in 50s, 60s. But somebody that has made their money, has made their impact, don't necessarily need more money, but likes the idea of making good money, living in Las Vegas, living in good weather. I think there's a lot of positive things. We have a historic program. Kids will want to naturally come here as well. There is a brand here. So there's a lot of positive things to UNLV. So, like Rick Pitino with St. John's, that man, I think, is in mid-70s, crushing it, top 25. He may have, I think he won Big East Coach of the Year. He's competing to get into the NCAA tournament his first year at the St. John's coach. So it's possible. So my prediction, we're going to see a change, as much as the Review Journal doesn't like that for whatever reason. But we're going to see a change for UNLV basketball. I hope Kruger can pull it out. If not, I think overall, I think what's been weird about Kruger from previous coaches in the last couple of years is nobody liked the other coaches. So everybody's like, they're getting fired, they're out. I think most people like Kruger. I know I like Kruger. Seems like a good guy. Seems like he has good values. You can tell that he's trying. He's working hard. It's just, unfortunately, there's a legacy here. Just hasn't worked out. So we'll see. Tonight's a big game against Utah State. That's going to be a tough game. And then we'll see how the offseasons go. And you guys know we love UNLV basketball, so we'll be talking about that on the pod all the time. So, next, we're talking UNLV football. Not a lot going on with UNLV football. It's offseason. And as you guys know, UNLV football is my favorite. So we got to talk a little bit. I was watching the other day, there's a new show that's on locally talking about who is going to be the quarterback for UNLV. Who's going to win the spring practice? Now, most likely, we're not going to know. But either way, we are going to go over the two quarterbacks. So it's Alex Orji from Michigan, big quarterback with elite speed, fast. And then we also have Anthony Cordero. He's a slider build, good athlete. He is a good passer. And watching this show and just what I've seen out there, a lot of people are kind of pushing Anthony because he's a passer. One thing I thought was really interesting too, watching this show, I don't know why this hit in my brain right now. They were talking about Hajj Malik Williams and how either way, these quarterbacks are going to be better than Hajj Malik Williams. He did a great job last year, so I'm really kind of surprised to even hear this out there. I think both of these guys need to prove themselves to see if they can be better. I think they both have the upside to do that. But again, Review Journal, love it. I got to stop reading the review. It riles me up. But most people are picking Anthony. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go Alex Orji. A couple reasons. He's older. And he comes from the Big Ten, which is the best conference in college football right now, where they play the best defenses, along with the SEC, right? And on top of this, Dan Mullen tends to have a quarterback, that's big, that is physical, that's a good athlete, that may not be the best passer. If I can remind you guys, Tim Tebow, Anthony Richardson, the starting quarterback of the Colts right now. So my prediction is, and I don't believe we're going to know at the end of spring practice, I think we're going to find out towards the end of August, to be completely honest with you. It's going to be Alex Orji. I think he fits the mold. I think they want to run the ball a lot. They brought in a lot of big offensive linemen. They're going to be big, physical. They're going to move the ball fast. Either way, I've been watching UNLV football for 15 years. Not 1 year have I seen a starting quarterback be the starter from day one until the end, either due to injury, success, not success, whatever you want to call it. I believe both of these guys will actually end up playing, and I don't even know if it really matters who starts off first, because we've just seen this story too many times. Who's the guy who's going to go out there and ball when it counts? And that is game day. So my prediction, Alex Orji will be the starting quarterback game one. And we're going to see a little bit of Anthony at some point during the season, and he will have the opportunity to win that job at some point. So he has the opportunity to do it right now. But either way, I'd like both quarterback prospects. Great fits for the offense, and I'm excited to go to UNLV, some UNLV football games this year. I renewed my season tickets. You guys are out there, hit me up. We'll get a beer before. And just to let you guys know, too, I don't have full details on this yet. UNLV, a spring football game, I believe, is going to be Saturday, April 26th, which is NFL draft weekend. If you're a football person, I'm sure you got that. You got that Thursday through Sunday already figured out. But there's not details yet. So I don't know if that's going to be Allegiant or it's going to be at the practice field at UNLV. But it looks like they are going to have a spring game. There's been a lot of programs that have gotten rid of spring games. Looks like Dan Mellon still wants to have a spring game. I think it's always good just to kind of get the fans excited, try to sell some tickets. So we'll see you guys out there. So those are my predictions for UNLV. Now, let's get into a little real estate. So, real estate market update. So, what are we expecting here for the spring? So, spring market tends to be our best time out of the year, and we're seeing that right now. So, a little update. and I've kind of talked about this pod before, is we did see a pickup in activity after election, which is pretty normal. It's not a left or right thing, guys. It's every 4 years is election. Everybody stops buying and selling real estate for like 2 to 4 months, and then it picks up. So that's not who won or didn't win. It's that's just how it happens in real estate every 4 years, doing real estate for 20 years. And then we saw a little bit of a pickup after the first. So about the end of January until now, we have seen good activity in terms of showings. But one thing we're realizing on our listings right now, it is taking anywhere from 10, 15, 20 showings to get an offer. So, and this really has to do with interest rates. They've been in the 7s. This last couple weeks, they have come down. I think they're about like 6.7, give or take right now, and they're in the high 6s. So there's a lot going on in the economy. There's a lot of uncertainty with the economy, which is fine. And I think a lot of folks associate recessions with that affecting the real estate market. Now, you're absolutely right. A recession, if this occurs, we don't know, could affect it negatively or positively. There's been plenty of recessions where people reinvest the money into real estate, and it's gone the other way, where we've seen complete collapses. I don't believe, by the way, there's going to be a real estate collapse by any means. I think it's going to be steady Eddie. We're going to see healthy appreciation, more normalized real estate markets, meaning it takes months to sell homes versus days or hours, which we saw during the pandemic. So there is a window. If you're a seller right now, this is by far the best time to sell. It is April 1st to about June 15th. We have about a 2 to 3 month window where activity will move up. And when I say activity move up, I'm thinking 5 to 10 showings to get you an offer, right? So that's good. If you're a buyer out there, this is a really good time for you as well, because this is actually when inventory hits the market. Because we have had stale inventory now for a couple of years. So there's positives on both sides. We're looking forward to it. If you guys are thinking about buying or selling a house, hit us up. We'd like to help out. Or if you just have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those for you. I want to be a great resource for real estate and UNLV and Raiders information. So guys, this is Running Vegas. We're going to wrap it up. I'm your host, John McNamara. Take care of yourselves today.